good? In this video, I wanted to just touch on, feeling like an alien in your own body, okay? And I felt this a lot growing up, I would say. At times, it felt like, although I was living in this world and I was present in this world, I felt like I didn't belong in this world, My raw, natural ideas, my raw, natural thinking, my raw, natural self just didn't belong, okay? And I could see it in the looks that people would give me when I would speak, And again, for me, like, I'm not even trying to delve into my whole life, you know what I'm saying? But for a long time, I was struggling with misbehavior, And I feel like I've spoken about this in previous videos, but I was really struggling with misbehavior and just issues with that. And now I look back on that and I see that that was me performing a rejection of the world, using the world, you know what I'm saying? I used the negative things in this world to show that I rejected it, but at the same time I wasn't embodying those negative things, not properly at least. Because I saw myself embody those negative things truly when I was out of the school issues and I was more in the real life and I had interactions with other people, and that's when I realized I had to sort my life out, because I saw how this rejection of the world, let's say, was developing, And you hear this kind of thing all the time with like villain backstories, like it's all a rejection of the world, but it doesn't make, and then again, it allows us to resonate with the villain, but it doesn't make the villain right, okay? And I think this is one of the things that we find in online, I would say, with TikTok especially, because in TikTok, and trust me, I've been a victim of this as well, you can take a villain, you can put a certain sound on it, you can use certain clips on it, and you build, this relationship with the villain in which we're almost saying the villain is okay. The villain's right. And again, in a way, this is true, but we also have to understand that the villain is not the answer. The villain is just a part of the play. The answer is working towards good, okay? And this is what this channel is about. This is what we talk about, okay? Is that walk with God, okay? But let me go back to the topic in terms of me feeling like an alien in my own body, And again, that's a very real feeling, that many people feel, I know it's not just me that feels this and just feel like an alien in this world. Because again, even to this day, when I try to have conversations with people about deeper introspection of themselves, something that I'm currently walking through myself, I can see the switch in their face where they start thinking, what's this guy talking about? This guy must be a bit of a nutter, And the fact that that's the only real reception I kind of get in my own circle, there's not really anyone to really share this on a deeper level with. It's hard for me, because again, these are the stuff that I've always cared about, but I would definitely say that there was a period in my life in which I prioritized the pretending for the world, so then they could at least accept my unique way of approach of doing things in a worldly way, and that's when I was well accepted by the world in terms of in my own bubble, very popular amongst my friends and things like this, known in my town, obviously within my own year. I'm not saying some famous guy in it, but I was kind of renowned in the area for what I was in it. You get me, like, you know what I'm saying? But that was never who I was, That was just this alien within me trying to align itself with this world, And again, it worked, I got what I wanted. I got recognition. People could recognize me, but it's not what I needed, man. And now I see this is what I needed. I needed a removal from these circles that I was caught up in, that I could no longer help, because I planted some backward seeds in those circles, that I can't reverse, because I'm kind of the one that put them there, because I showed that path, And again, I don't know how many people can resonate with this, because a lot of the times we hear it will be people that are in a friendship group and they just know they're in a bad friendship group, because they got bad friends around them. But I was that bad friend that you didn't want in your friendship group. And I was that friend that put some of my friends on a worse path through my actions. And I've always been like that. I remember when I was in early days secondary school, there was a group of Pakistani boys that I used to just hang out with, yeah, the whole group. And I remember, like, they were just these kids that were just like obviously they were a bit naughty, blah, 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 but like, when they started hanging out with me, man, we took that naughtiness to a whole new level. That's why they had to get me out of the school. They had to kick me out, because we took naughtiness into a whole different thing. You know, we were just in them corridors, shouting, screaming, just fucking up toilets, like, just fucking up everything. Like, we were just and it was just like, we were just like a group of like 40 kids at like our most, even more than that probably. Like, it was just half the year group of the boys would just run around, you know. And of course, I look back on that as like, yeah, I know I was influential in that. But at the same time, I needed to understand, like, this is where I was last year in year 12. I needed to take lessons from that. Because I just didn't see that whole experience as just a bluff, you know. And I remember I was speaking to this guy. There was this counselor that they gave me. Yeah, I was speaking to him. We could play a bit of, you know. We could, you know. But the moment I started exploring the idea that maybe this was pre-planned for me, again, I didn't even fully understand. I couldn't conceive these thoughts. I just knew I was in this moment now. It's like God gave me that intuition to know, okay, you need to start looking within, bro. We need to start looking at what happened. But then I remember I brought up this idea of that, oh, maybe this was all like kind of, you know, meant to be, like, this is part of a bigger picture that I can't even see it. And he shut it down straight away. He said, we're getting too philosophical, you know? And that's when I knew, yeah, I need to walk this one's alone. Because when he said that, the feeling didn't die. The feeling got stronger, because I was just like, they're not going to understand me, are they? And they never did. It was just a reminder of where I came from being completely misunderstood. You know? Looking to the world for these answers, these unprescribed answers, you know, you realize they're not going to understand me, man. So I would say that might have been the point in which the real work started within. And again, I'm a big advocate for introspection, okay? Introspection has opened my eye in my life in terms of, it's just, I can't, like, sometimes I get emotional when I think about it, because I'm so young, and I can't conceive the growth in which I will experience as the years come by. I can't. And that makes me emotional, because I feel so satisfied where I am now. I feel so, like, it's like I was starving and I was given food, and I know that I will never starve again. That feeling of knowing that I will never starve again, as long as I maintain this path of improvement and introspection. You know? As long as I'm able to maintain that path, I will never starve again. You know? And I think this is a feeling that the world is missing, that the world looks to through dogmatic religion and narrow, you know, but we can't be narrow with these things, you know, because the only narrow thing about it is the individual walk. That's about it. Other than that, it's a shared walk which is waiting for all of us. It's waiting for all of us, you know, as a collective. It's not this narrow selection that experience this, you know. And I feel like that's how, and I've been talking about this channel before about mainstream religion. This is how I feel like mainstream religion really manifests itself in the world, as this, you know, narrow answer that only a select few can bring. And then that brings the arrogance in which, when you try to conversate with these people, or you're brought up in those environments, you see that arrogance and just rejection of other cultures. Even within, for example, I was having a conversation with my friend, and he was saying how he wanted to get married to this girl, you know. Ooh, like, he's just doing this thing, you know what I'm saying? For me, obviously, I'm not even looking to get married at this point in my life, but I understand that he's just doing this thing. It's the intuition talking to me, you know. Of course, this is he's meant to experience this, okay? And I can see he was talking about how the father didn't, and the girl herself is Indian. The father did not want him to marry this girl because he's Pakistani. Mind you, these men, they come from the same religion. But just this narrow, I'm showing that this narrow arrogance of mainstream religion, when you're fully embodied that narrow arrogance, it goes beyond that religion to the point where you're even within your religion, you're looking for an even more narrow path. So my man's there saying, yeah, man's Indian Muslim, yeah? So we're gonna get even narrower. You know what I'm saying? Now we're just gonna be the Indian, no, man's Muslim, now we're gonna get even narrower, and now man's gonna be the Indian Muslim. You know? And now we're part of this Indian Muslim narrow path, you know? And I see it in my community as well, the black community, you know? There's a real, and again, for me, racism is in all cultures. Okay, all cultures experience racism in their own way. Okay, the only thing that I will say is that in this realm, okay, the whites are the most powerful in terms financially. Okay, and that is in this period of time, by the way. In this period of time, the whites are the ones that have the most power financially. In terms of the material world, we could say the white people are the king of this realm at this moment in time. Okay, and this is why we see slavery and stuff like this in this time. But we have to also remember there was a time in which Africa was experiencing high levels of, you know, like for example, the Egyptian period, they had bare slaves. Like, this is like, and I'm not even trying to like, because this is what I know from education. And I'll be honest, a lot of it is based on primary education that I'm watching The Prince of Egypt, okay? This isn't me, I'm not some historian. But from what I can tell, the Egyptians had bare slaves, you know? And I'm probably going to assume that maybe they were their own people, maybe they were just the poverty of their people. Because again, transatlantic, whatever, blah, 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 didn't really exist them times, innit? So the way that it did during the slavery time of the white people. So you have to understand, the white people were like, cool, we got boats and shit. We got boats and shit. We need to get money. We got these black people on the boat. They're a bit behind us money-wise, so we're just gonna snap. Okay, that's kind of how. That's just it. It's not really deeper than that. You know, it's not this narrow thing where, you know, that's what it is. It's just this material nature manifesting itself in the world. Okay, which it always does, and it manifests itself now mostly through culture clashes. You know, right now in my country, we're seeing a lot of disagreement on immigration and stuff like this there. This is the manifestation of a world in which doesn't even really require to enslave people anymore, you know? Like, but you have to understand, if there was a reason to enslave these people, these immigrants, we would go ahead and do it. Like, I reckon if we were to go to war with some shit, like proper war, bro, people will be saying, let's get the immigrants on the front line, you know? Or we'll probably say, listen, immigrants, you can come to our country, but you got to go in the front lines, you know? And another thing is, you have to remember that the immigrants, a lot of these immigrants are fleeing from war, okay? And I was having this talk yesterday. I was just like, if I was an immigrant, if I was to have an issue with immigrants, I would have to say that I would want to experience the war that these people are fleeing from, rather than the bliss of, okay, maybe not complete bliss, but the bliss in which this England that I live in is compared to the war that they're fleeing away from. Countries that my dad's from, Sudan, there's a lot of war going there, you know, and we see a lot of immigrants come there, you know, and there's a lot of slavery going on in Libya from Sudan and these countries there, Libyan, whatever, like, they go into these countries, they get these men as almost prisoners of wars, and they slave them off, you know. These are things that still exist, that people pretend like don't exist, and then we pin it down to immigration and these stuff there. You know what I'm saying? But it's deeper than that. You know what I mean? So this is what I mean. We have to understand that we have to become more aware of these things and understand that, you know, we're all walking our own path. You know what I'm saying? We're all walking this own walk that we all have to understand ourselves, you know? And that these narrow thinkings don't help anybody. They just slow you down. They just slow you down. So to wrap it up there, because I might make another video on another channel, but it's just as simple as that, man. Just keep working on yourself in these ways. Keep, you know, and again, it's intruders, so I'm just gonna like, you know what I'm saying? But how you guys alright? Yeah, good. Yes. But yeah, you just gotta keep pushing, man. Keep doing the right things, you know? Understand. And again, this is really nice for me, because I don't know if you've seen my other videos, but I was having a bit of intruder problems, okay? But these are nice intruders, you know? Like, they're just here on my timing, you know? They're here to chill, you know? You know what I'm saying? So I like those sort of intruders. They're not intruders to me, they're welcome. So they make me feel comfortable. But yeah, I might make another video on another channel, but yeah, peace.